Hello, everyone. It's Phil Jones, and joining me is Michael Sprague, and we're here to talk about the new Denon Home products, as well as give you an introduction to or an update on what's going on with HEOS. So, Mike, how are you?
I am good.
So, we're really excited about our Denon Home products. We have this legacy of making great products at Denon, 110 years. And we leveraged that 110 years of experience when designing these Denon Home products in order to deliver the high quality, hi-fi sound that Denon is famous for. Now, a lot of companies make wireless speakers and even streaming amplifiers. We have a higher level of expectation when it comes to sound quality, build quality, and those types of things. So all Denon Home products have been tuned by the sound masters. They have our HEOS functionality built in, which we'll talk about later and show you some new things we're going to be adding. It makes it really easy to access your music, high res, which is one of the things that we're doing now, that we really stress that you can get high quality in any room wirelessly, and the products are beautifully designed. So as I mentioned, a lot of care goes into developing these products. The sound master and his team work to sound tune every Denon product that has the Denon logo on it. So whether you're buying a AVR, a hi-fi piece, a Denon Home wireless speaker, or a Denon Home amp, you know that the same care and attention went into the design and the tuning of that particular product. And we'll talk about what the sound masters and the tuning teams do to make these units sound unique as we go along in the presentation. When it comes to our Denon Home products and the response has been very, very good. The reviews have been very, very good. And as we improve things such as the HEOS app, the reviews of the HEOS functionality and all of the HEOS things that we've been adding continue to improve as well. So very well received, very great looking product. So today we just want to talk about a couple of the newer products that are being introduced this year. The first one is the Denon Home 150 NV. And this piece is designed to bring the option of Denon's home wireless speakers to more customers by delivering an even more affordable version. Now, a lot of the parts on this unit and a lot of the capabilities of this unit is similar to the Denon Home 150 that you're currently familiar with. If you look behind me is a couple of the new Denon 150 NVs. And if you look at them, they look very similar to the Denon Home 150s that are already out there. So when it comes to sound quality, the sound quality is very similar. They're identical. They have the same hardware, the same high-res capabilities. They utilize the same HEOS ecosystem. So up to 64 zones of capability with high-res and all of the streaming services. The physical inputs are the same. USB network inputs, all that stuff is the same. And even the water-resistant cloth design and things like that are very similar. The main difference between these two has to do with whether or not you want or need voice assistant or voice control. So I can give you an example of that. One example that I use is in my home, I have a pair of Denon Home 250s in my living room. And also I have a Denon Home 150 in my kitchen. Now, those two rooms are about 10 feet, 20 feet apart from each other. So when I speak to one microphone, both 250s will pick it up, plus the 150 that's in my bedroom, in my kitchen will pick it up. So I don't need that. I only need one of them. So a product like the Denon Home 150 would be a great addition to that particular lineup. So Mike, you also had another example that you had brought up about multi-zone. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
As Phil was saying, acoustically, these speakers, if you played them next to one another, sound exactly the same. Performance is the same. The goal was to get a better price point. So what we do is pull the microphone. You also notice the packaging isn't as colorful. We didn't go with full color packaging. You don't need voice to do surround. So if you've got the 550 Denon Home soundbar, with or without the sub, doesn't matter, as your TV sound, you've got a microphone there. You don't need it in that room. So you get the less expensive 150 and you get two of them to be your rear speakers. You don't need the microphone. You don't need the voice control for the back speakers. They're just a complement to that entire room. So it's good to have an affordable way to get two of these as your surround speakers.
Exactly. So no reason to pay for something if you don't need that particular application. So the nice thing is now you just have more product or more options in your product portfolio of Denon Home products to utilize. So wireless speakers, wireless sound bars, wireless subwoofers, and now a Denon Home amplifier. So if you look at the Denon Home product and you compare it to the competition, our product really offers a lot of substantial benefits, whether it's voice control, AirPlay 2 capability, upcoming Roon ready capabilities, USB input, HDMI ARC on the new Denon Home Amp. There's a huge amount of capabilities and reasons why a customer would want to step up to a Denon Home product powered by HEOS. But there was one product that we wanted to add to the product portfolio to flesh out the lineup, because there are people who want the capability of adding a wireless music or maybe a second zone of music to their home, and they want to utilize more traditional speakers. They want the flexibility of doing that, and that is where the Denon Home Amp comes in. So this is the replacement for the original HEOS amp, which I actually have a HEOS amp right now in my home, and it's actually powering my speakers that are out on my deck. I have a pair of Polk Atriums with the two satellites and the subwoofer being driven off of a HEOS amp, and it does a really good job. But times have moved on, and there's been a lot of upgrades available or possible now because of the new HEOS chipset and other advancements. So we wanted to build a new replacement model for that. More power, high-res capability, HDMI ARC, AirPlay 2, a whole bunch of additional upgrades have happened with this product. So more functionality and better sound quality. So this is a great new model for those people who love the HEOS amp but want more performance from it. So there's multiple use cases for a amplifier like this. So number one, first thing is you can use it for is a 2-channel system. So say you want a nice, compact, hi-fi system in your office, bedroom, or even in your living room, but you do not want the traditional 17-inch black box in your room. You want great sound, but you want it to be as discreet and as compact as possible. This is a great solution. We stress that this is a hi-fi unit. So while it does wireless streaming, what separates this is it is a hi-fi piece and it delivers hi-fi quality sound. Now, you can pair this with all sorts of different speakers. So you can do satellite speakers, you can do bookshelves, you can even do floor standers. In my office right now, what I actually have is I have a older Denon mini system connected to a pair of Definitive Technology speakers and a DT subwoofer. Does a great job delivering an amazing desktop system, but even the little Denon mini system is kind of big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the little Denon mini system, the Clio, with a Denon Home Amp. So that Denon Home Amp will easily power the 2 DT Pro monitors I have on my desk, plus send signal to my subwoofer, and has all the connectivity that I would ever need. And it makes for an amazing desktop system. We've used these to drive all sorts of speakers to the point where people are shocked at the fact that we can power floor standers that big on this particular product. Great product for someone who wants a compact solution but wants great sound. The other thing about this product is having the option of picking and choosing the speaker you want with this compact amplifier gives you a level of flexibility and upgradability you're just not going to get if you go out and buy a traditional powered speaker. So you buy a powered left and a powered right. Yeah, you don't have a box, but what if I want to upgrade to a better set of speakers? I got to buy everything over again. What if I want more power? I got to buy everything over again. What if I can't utilize those speakers in a surround sound system? In this solution, you can use this as your compact hi-fi system, but then you have the opportunity for that system to grow. Next thing, upgrade your TV sound. Many people are getting most of their content from their TVs. They have Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu and all that stuff. But a lot of times you may not want a full-blown multi-channel surround sound system or have the space for that. So this is a great option because it has eARC on the back. So you could take all the audio from those streaming services, maybe a game system, and utilize it in your room. Paul brought up after the last meeting that this is a great alternative for someone who's maybe looking for a 2.1 solution and they want a little bit more than a soundbar. So you can use this for that solution and have all of that upgradability. Last but not least, if you want to add a second zone or multiple zones, you could use multiples of these to actually build as big of a wireless multi-zone system as you want. If you wanted to, we could sell you 64 of these for a home. So any other comments that Paul or Mike, you guys want to add before we move on?
Yeah, just on the TV sound side of things, we do have a DSP in this product, so it will handle and downmix Dolby 5.1. You've got virtual surround capability, dialogue enhancer, and night modes available. So it truly can take the place of a lot of the functionality that we pack into soundbars.
Okay, yeah, excellent. And the ability to upgrade. Start from floor stand, bookshelves, go to floor standards if you want. Excellent option. So we mentioned that the sound quality is an important part of this. Yes, it has lots of power and tons of flexibility and tons of connectivity, but it's all about making sure that we deliver the sound quality that Denon is famous for. So if I asked the sound master, we did, to describe the sound, he described it as vivid and spacious. The goal is to build a compact amp that delivers high quality, hi-fi sound. And that's what separates it. This is a hi-fi wireless streaming amplifier, and the hi-fi part is really important. The next thing is it needs to be beautifully designed, a very sleek and beautifully designed package. So if you look at this guy, it is a beautifully designed package for as small as it is, and the amount of flexibility and capability that is built into this is shocking for its size, and it is a beautiful product to look at in your particular home. In addition, we wanted to make sure that the unit was built to the way that it could meet the standards of someone looking for a CI solution. So there's features built into this unit to ensure that it makes a good option for someone who wants to utilize it in a CI application. And of course, it offers great sound quality, lots of connectivity, and all the ease that you need to easily, quickly build a wireless multi-zone hi-fi audio system. Now, when it comes to sound tuning, people ask, well, what did they do to tune it? And there's a lot of things that went into tuning this product. Now, each time a Denon product is tuned, they build a product, and then the sound tuning team go through the product and make adjustments in order to make it sound like what they believe a Denon product would sound like. And if you look at the Denon Home Amp, it has 285 unique parts compared to maybe its brother, which is the Marantz Model M1. So noticeable differences between the parts that are selected. Now, both sound great. It's just that if you listen to a Denon AVR and listen to a Marantz AVR, they both sound great. They just sound different. And the goal is give people the sound that they want, and now you can choose from two different applications. lots and lots of upgrades and tons of attention to detail. If you look at the bottom of the unit, it has these little tuned feet, basically the feet that the units sit on. They went through multiple materials trying to find the one that sounds the best with the electrical tuning. This is the kind of thing they do on a hi-fi amplifier. If they'll tell stories about how after they built the amp, they went through multiple feet for the hi-fi product or even the AVRs, because believe it or not, the little feet, how it contacts with the shelf makes a difference and impacts the sound. Same attention to detail that goes into our hi-fi pieces go into this Denon Home Amp. If I asked the sound master, Yamuchi-san, how would you describe the sound? He said, vivid and spacious, tuned to be a little aggressive. Basically, if you listen to a Denon piece, it's a little bit more, the image is a little bit more forward focused than our Marantz pieces. They are, the sound stage is still sharp and crisp, and you get, and they want lots of great imaging and a wide sound stage. The big thing is powerful sound. When you hear this guy, even though it's compact, it is 100 watts per channel, a true 100 watts per channel. So people are stunned at the amount of output that comes from such a compact package. And not only is it compact and simple, it's high powered, and like the way he described it, is a wolf in sheep clothing. Now, the design itself is designed to be very attractive, very stylish, easily fit into any room. And while it looks simple, it's actually quite challenging to do this type of they call it ID, industrial design. So, and that is because if you look at the chassis, the goal is you have this one chassis that fits everything. It's this one basically shell that covers the whole thing. And that is all made from one piece, and it's seamless and it's paintless. Now, in order to get the tolerances that you want on this, it gets really challenging to do that type of manufacturing. So one of the things they were talking about is they call it a draft angle less. So basically a draft angle, if you don't want any draft angle, when you build the box, you don't want the box, the clamshell to kind of be like this. You want it to be exactly like this. Tidal tolerances means better quality and better construction. But getting it so that the little chassis is like this actually takes a lot of time and a lot of engineering. It's just about attention to detail. And when you see them, they look, you can see why they cost what they do, and they easily justify their price with their performance and their construction. Now, moving on from that, let's talk about connectivity. The Denon Home Amp has a lot of connectivity, and it has some, and the goal is to make it as easy as possible to connect it to multiple sources. So instead of real RCA cables, if you want to plug in a turntable or a CD player, instead of a mini jack, optical cable, an optical connection, subwoofer outs, all of the things that you would want in something this compact. Even an IR input if you want to utilize it in a rack and you want to control it from a control system. Now, those connections means that you can connect a lot of things to this little box. So, of course, you have all of the services that are available on HEOS, which is probably going to be where most people get their music, Tidal, Spotify, things like that, and HDMI eARC. So you connect to your TV, and now you get your, you can play back your sound from your TVs, your Netflix, your Disney Plus, all that stuff. Got a game system connected to your TV? Guess what? You connect, now you get your sound off of your game system, play back to your sound system. And you also have an optical and analog input. So if you want to connect a turntable, an older CD player, you have those capabilities as well. And of course, Bluetooth. We got a question about the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth is Bluetooth version 4.2, which is still very, very good. And by the way, the Marantz Model 1 also has Bluetooth 4.2. The biggest challenge is how do you get all of this capability in such a compact package? And that took a lot of thought when it comes to how do you design a product that looks like this. So they came up with with this 3-story structure. So what happens is, normally if you look at an AVR, or a hi-fi piece, all of the products are on a single plane. So you may have your power supply, your amplifier circuits, your volume control, everything is on one plane, which makes the box, maybe it reduces the height, but it makes the box wider and deeper. Now, the goal is to make it as compact of a product as possible. So they went to this 3-story structure. So basically layers. They stacked layers on top. The digital PCB boards, the HEOS amp, or maybe on the top floors. Then on the bottom floors, the bottom floor, you have your switching power supply, your digital amplifier circuit, and then of course your heatsink. By stacking them this way, it allows us to make the chassis more compact. All of these floors live in this plastic monoblock inner structure that lives inside of the case. So that's what you see on the left side. So the reason why we had to do this is, if you look at the power supply circuit, that takes up basically half of the area of the chassis, the bottom of the chassis. So you had to do multiple stories in order to fit everything in. So they started doing things like they made the holder to hold everything, so you have all this placement flexibility. They made the switching power supply was made to measure, which meant find a way to fit that inside of the space that we had, instead of buying one off of the shelf. The next thing is the PCB board, and some of the modules are mounted upside down. And that helps with shielding. It utilizes unused space, and it helps reduce the height of the unit. The bottom floor has the Class D amp circuitry, and there's a metal heatsink on the bottom side of the Class D amplifier circuit board. Now, Michael, you had mentioned there was a couple of other things about this, that about why they mounted, one of the benefits of having like the HEOS amp board mounted upside down. Do you remember that?
Yep. So we talk about trying to get rid of heat. What you see there, and I think your next slide has a better picture of it. Typically, you'll see a normal aluminum heat sink, big giant fins, the air can go through and it dissipates the heat. The problem is it takes up a ton of space. So to the right, you'll see the plate that we use at the very bottom. So that plate pulls all the heat from the switch mode power supply and the amp board, because they're directly connected. They've got some contact points to pull the heat out. With the HEOS module, which is the top part that's flipped upside down, it's like a computer processor chip. It needs those heat sinks to dissipate the heat. So what's nice is, by being able to flip it upside down, those fins act as a barrier to prevent noise from transferring through the system. Digital noise in the processor getting into the amplifier, which is directly below it. So it acts as a barrier. It acts as a space keeper so that we can get some airflow to allow it to breathe a little bit, and make sure that that heat gets out from the PC board that's on the bottom, the amp board and the power board, to go through that plate that's on the bottom.
Yeah.
The other nice thing is, you'll notice the vertical kind of circuit board with the white square on top. That is taking the place of what would typically be ribbon connectors, which connect the HEOS board and the digital board to the amp board to get the signal down there. Typically, and you see this on a lot of AV receivers as well, it's a ribbon. It's just you clip it in, and it's a flexible ribbon. It's a point of distress in the system that tends to be something that fails more often than we would like. So we now use a hard board to make that connection. There's no flexing there. There's no ribbons to come loose. There's no wires to come loose. We introduced this on our highest end products, Cinema 30, the X6800 AV receiver from Denon, the AV10. We introduced it. It's not cheap, but we know that the reliability and the durability is better than using those ribbon connectors. So that's an interesting piece to see in a streaming amp that is, well under $1,000.
Exactly, because if you look at this guy, there's it's like you said, it's very compact, but it's also, it has to be a certain depth just to get all of these inputs on it, right? But then at the same time, we did as much as we possibly can to make this as shallow or as possible. So this is 2 rack heights, right? I challenge you to find a digital amp with the same amount of power output capability, the way that we rank it, with all of the connectivity and all the capabilities that's in this box, that's shallower than this. It's really, really hard to do that with all of the capabilities that is built into this unit. And things like flipping the amps, going to a plate for the big power, for the power amp cooling, instead of a fins, and flipping things upside down, are all things that we've done to try to make it as shallow as humanly possible. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, and all of that also helps. We can put those things side by side really close together because it's a passive cooling system. We aren't using an active fan. It flows out the top. You'll notice the bottom is rounded. That allows airflow to come in from the bottom. So you can put these things right next to one another and not worry about them overheating because they are passive. Those plates and those fins that they've designed allow them to run without fans.
Okay, yeah, so lots of care when it comes to even how the structure of the units are laid out. By the way, the Denon and the Marantz models are laid out the similar way, but the components that are on those boards are different. We mentioned 285 different parts on the Denon Home compared to its brother. So even though those parts are the same, different capacitors and different things add to the tonality of the units and why they sound different. Now, the next thing is the digital amplifier that was chosen, or digital amplifier circuit that was chosen. And I keep worrying about I'm going to butcher this name. Mike, it is called a what?
Axine.
Axine.
Axine. Yeah, it's Axine.
Axine. This is a Axine Class D digital amplifier circuit. This is one of the best ones on the market. And one of the things that makes it work really well is the current feedback. That filter, that loop feedback helps reduce the amount of distortion that is in the system. Very, very, very good sounding Class D amplifier circuit. Now, we went out and said this is one of the best, but our engineers are never satisfied. So this is think of it as a bespoke version of this unit, because we utilize this we're going to be utilizing this on both the Marantz and the Denon pieces. We could really go in there and say, we will get this piece, but in order to make it sound the way we want it to sound, we want you to do this, this, this. So the analogy I would use would be, we went to the best ranch and said, we want you to raise these cows, but I want you to feed them this way and do it exactly this way. And now I have the exact steak that I want. But then I give the 2 chefs, the Denon Soundmaster that steak and the Marantz Soundmaster that steak, and it's all of those other little ingredients that they go along with the steak that adds that last bit of character that separates the Denon from the Marantz. So Mike, what would you like to say?
Yeah, this chip, this amp, it's a platform that we get to customize to do what we want it to do. So each one, while they look the same, they come from the same, builder, they're different.
Exactly. But they both offer similar benefits when it comes to things like distortion. So if we look at this chart right here, the next chart, we measured the distortion and against the popular brands. And if you look at the M1 and the Home Amp, the distortion is much lower. And we rated at, our distortion is rated at 20 to 20 hertz. It's 0.05% with 100 watts per channel at 8 ohms. Now, a lot of companies will say, oh, we have a 100 watt per channel amplifier, but what's the distortion? Well, I don't know. Or we don't post that. Or it's 125 watts per channel with no listing of what impedance you're playing it at, or if it is, it's 6 ohms, or they don't list the distortion or with things like that. This is a hi-fi piece. So we rate it and tested it to ensure that it delivers hi-fi level sound quality, which means 20 to 20 at low distortion, continuously, both channels into an 8 ohm load. That is the way you rate a hi-fi piece. And you can see a noticeable difference in the level of distortion. It's much, much lower. And we've done this demo versus one of these models in the office, and the difference is stunning between the two units. You can easily hear the difference. Now, in addition, not only do you have low distortion, you also have very good frequency response from 20 hertz to 40 kilohertz, which means it is high res compliant. So it is low distortion, excellent frequency response, and tons of power, true power. So we believe that if you compare this to any other product on the market, it easily justifies its price. So very, very good piece. While some people may buy this unit as a single unit for maybe a compact hi-fi system, or maybe a single zone and have it in that zone, or maybe connected to their TV, there are times people are going to want to use these to add additional zones to a home in a CI application. So the goal is to make it as CI friendly as possible. So our HEOS enabled devices already support a pretty wide range of control systems. Now we also support Control 4 and AMX. So if you compare that to the older HEOS amp and HEOS drive, you have more support for more things. So more compatibility with C4, AMX, plus all of the other different services out there, controls out there, like if you want to utilize it with Crestron. So excellent solution for someone who wants to put it into a chassis. The next thing is they're designed to fit on a 2U rack shelf. And if you look at them side by side, they fit beside each other beautifully. So it's a nice looking package if you decide that you want to utilize this. Now, when you put it into a rack, of course, you want to make sure you have enough ventilation. But sometimes sometimes the room may get warm, or you may be driving it awfully hard. And the goal is to provide great reliability. You want that system, once you install it, to work for years and years and years and years. So this unit actually monitors itself, signal level, current level, temperature, and to adjust itself to maintain reliability. So the goal is to give you great sound for long periods of time with long life, and not have to worry about the unit shutting down or audio clipping. So a lot of thought went into this unit when it comes to the construction, the sound quality, and the reliability. That makes it a great option for someone who wants to install it in a CI application. So overall, it is an amazing product that offers tons and tons of flexibility. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, wanted to go over a couple of questions that had come through. They've been answered, and actually you just went over the very first question. What is the limiter? And the limiter is kind of like the lifeline. It's like making sure that this thing doesn't overwork itself, keeps it from being a wild rabbit animal that doesn't control itself. Is there any hope that you can attach it to the Denon Home soundbar to power in ceiling rears? Yes. This can power rear speakers when it is used with the 550 soundbar. It will not drive rear speakers in conjunction with an AVR, only with the 550 soundbar, with or without the sub. You can have a 5.0 or a 5.1, that's up to you, but it will work for rears with the 550 soundbar. AirPlay, you did touch on that. It does have AirPlay 2.
Now, some things you want you to remember when it comes to this unit: high quality, hi-fi level sound, right? That's the number one thing. Yes, you have all that functionality, but if you play this, versus pretty much any other one out there, side by side, grab a pair of floor standards, grab a pair of bookshelf speakers, and play this versus another unit, you can notice a difference. It's punchier, it's more dynamic, the bass is better. It's like night and day. Next thing, custom integration was not a secondary thought. As they built it, they thought about ventilation, capabilities, all of that stuff to make it a great option for someone who wants to maybe add a second zone to a client's or their own home or multiple zones and have it be easily controlled. And of course, packed with features and beautifully designed. A couple more things that I want to cover. I want to give you guys kind of an update on what's going on with HEOS. Now, the nice thing about adding the amp is we continue to add to the HEOS ecosystem. So now you have sound bars and wireless speakers and wireless subs and Denon AVRs and Denon component products and Denon network players, and now you have a hi-fi wireless amplifier, plus the compatibility with all of the stuff that's available, the HEOS compatible Marantz products. Huge amount of options to fit any customer's needs or applications. So whether we're talking about getting an AV receiver or wireless multi-room speakers and soundbars and wireless subwoofers, hi-fi, or streaming amplifiers for maybe one extra zone, a single zone, or several zones. How many? Up to 64. We have you covered when it comes to this product. And high-res, high-quality sound is paramount. And the new app has been well received. The reviews have been great. And we continue to add additional functionality and flexibility to the app. You can control it in a wide variety of ways. Smartphone apps, Spotify Connect, AirPlay, via your voice. You can use, depending on the unit, it may have controls like the Denon Home has. The Denon Home Amp has the direct access button. So you have tons and tons of capabilities. And of course, because we are sound quality is paramount, we support high res. It used to be that you had to sacrifice performance for convenience. If you wanted tons and tons and tons of streaming songs, the quality wasn't as good as a CD. Now, many services offer streaming music at resolutions higher than the disc that you have in your collection. So whether it's DSD or FLAC, there's tons of different services now that offer high-res capabilities. And they continue to grow day to day. Now, we used to always hear, I would buy this if only it had MQA. And we would always say, well, if MQA becomes really well and seriously adopted across huge amounts of platforms and it became a massive demand, we would apply engineering resource to do that. Paul and the engineering team are constantly working on making HEOS better. And they have this huge list of things that you have requested. And they're working down that list based on what they believe is going to give you the best benefit. And one of the things was that we were looking at was, MQA was on that list and we were thinking about it, but it was not at the top. Why? Because streaming bandwidth is getting higher and higher and higher. So the need to use compression, MQA has a whole bunch of fancy tech, but it's just basically very good compression, is starting to be diminished. So most services now can just stream uncompressed FLAC files or, directly from the services. And services like Amazon Music has been doing high-res 192.24 files for a year. So now the need to utilize some sort of compression scheme kind of goes away. And I'm sure you've heard this news that is, as of July 24th, when Tidal Max is going to do FLAC as their high-res stereo format, which we support. And if you play HEOS, you will start to see the Tidal Max logo on that indicates that you're getting high res when you're playing back that thing. Of course, we talked about control. The goal is to give you as much control capabilities as possible, and we continue to try to improve the control capabilities that are added to this unit. So if someone wants to integrate it into a job and use one controller to control it all, we want to make sure that we play well with others. And Paul and Mike Manzanian and Tom Arcolino and all the engineers are all working to make sure that you end up with a solution that will work great in a CI application. Now, before we go, I want to kind of give you a roadmap of what's coming in the future when it comes to HEOS. So a couple of months ago, I came in and did one on HEOS U32. So while we're on like maybe the 4th version of what the app looks like, the engineering team continues to work on improving the capabilities of HEOS. And now we're getting into U33 and U34. So we want to give you some things that are coming down the pipeline. So of course, things like Tidal High Res, Tidal Connect, Deezer Hi-Fi, and Roon Ready. So those are the ones that we are looking for and adding as we're going from U33 to U34. Now, Mike, what's up?
Oh, nothing. Just getting ready for Q&A. Got a couple more questions. I know we're getting close here.
Okay, we're getting close. So a couple more things. People say, well, Roon Ready, you say it's coming. What's going on with that? The way that Roon works is each product has to be certified by Roon before it gets the logo on the box, right? So we have to submit them one by one by one, and they have to test them one by one by one. Products such as the DMP 2000 NE and the CD60 has already been went through the certification process. The second round that they're working on right now includes the Denon Home wireless speakers, the Denon Home Amp, the M1 and the M4. So there's a staggered rollout. So as we go along, we're submitting products, the products are being tested, and it's this rollout. So the process has begun, but don't expect, we can't just throw the entire lineup for 2 brands at this company, expect them to certify it immediately. But we want to let you know that that process is moving along. So Paul, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so you had Deezer Hi-Fi and Roon Ready up there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're hopeful that that's going to ship at the end of July. So that's like, instead of a second half highlight, that's very soon.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So coming. Now there's one more thing that we want to bring up, and this came up in a meeting yesterday, that someone said, hey, I got this great, I love the M1, but when I first turn it on, it takes a little while for it to, start playing music. What's going on? Based on new laws, we have been asked to reduce the amount of power consumption or energy consumption, and we were asked forcefully, right? So there's laws that are saying that there's only a certain amount of power that these units have to have. So the quickest way to do that under standby is to have it basically go to sleep when it does not sense a signal for a long period of time. Now, when you grab the app and you select that product, it has to awaken. As Mike, as Sprague brought it up one time, it's like when you first turn on your AVR. You got to give it a second, okay, for it to wake up, including it's almost like that with TVs and most devices. So out of the box, the power setting is defaulted to auto standby to reduce the amount of energy consumption. But when you turn it on, it may take a few seconds for it to respond. Explain to the person why it does that. But if they don't want that to happen, you can go into the power settings in the menu under the HEOS app, go to auto standby, and then switch it from auto standby to quick start. And it will always have a little bit of voltage in there to keep it awake. So when you turn on that particular device, it will immediately work. So before we go, if you look at our products and you look at the HEOS capabilities, we offer more zones, more capabilities, more devices, and whether you're looking at the product itself or whether you're looking at the capabilities of the technology of HEOS, our products are, when it comes to capabilities, we believe are the best in the industry. So, Michael, do we have any questions?
We do. We had a couple more come in. One is, do you know of anyone who builds something to hold the Denon Home Amp or the M1 in a can behind the TV? I know there are back boxes that are big enough for us to A, mount the M1, or B, strap the Denon Home Amp. Do we know of any manufacturers that make these and what they would be called?
I do not. I'd have to look at that, but if we find that out, we'll make sure that we put together like kind of a document. But yeah, but you should be able to get this way inside of one of those boxes that are there. By the time you put it in there and mount the TV, most of the time you could probably get it back there. Oh, there's Mr. CI. Nick, what's up, man?
So the Versa boxes that Snap AV sells, they're not that big, but they are big enough to fit in an M1 or a Denon Home Amp. Obviously, you'd have to mount it in a sense vertically, not the long way. So that is an option out there. They do come in multiple sizes for widths and heights and things like that. So just be cautious. All I say about that is just be cautious of how much stuff that you're going to put back there with the amp, because you obviously have speaker terminals and you don't want to get those things broken. And wires and so on and so forth. So they will fit the depth internally of an M1 or a Denon Home.
Okay, so I actually have the Denon Home and the M1 right here. Now, a couple things you'll notice, and Fernandez did a good job of explaining it. The first thing, the Denon Home Amp has the quick select buttons on the front, right? The Marantz does not, right? But the Marantz has an IR input on the front, and the Denon Home does not. So if you want to control the Marantz with a traditional remote control via IR, you could do it directly from the front. The Denon Home is for someone who says, I want to be able to quickly just push one button and actually have the unit play my favorite playlist. If I turn these around, I'm juggling two of these things. Good thing I've been working out today. The connections are similar. They both have IR inputs on the back. So if you want to control a Denon Home amp, you can, but you need to use an IR flasher or plug in the IR inputs directly into the unit. Now, the last thing, Michael, they were asking about mounting it in a chassis. If you look at the Denon Home, actually, I got the tape on the back. Don't pay no attention to the tape on the back. You'll see that the Denon, the Marantz has a mounting screw, so you can mount that. What is that? What you call that screw, Sprague? It was
it's a threaded mount, so that you can actually screw in something that will physically mount to the wall.
Exactly, and the Home
size. It's the same size as a tripod mount.
Thank you, Fernandez. So yeah, so about the same size. Designs are different. What's on the front is different because there's probably different use cases for these particular units. The quality is very good. The concept on how things are mounted is similar. But if I pull this box apart and I take the lids off those two units, you will see a difference when you pull the lids off. And while things may be in the same position, what you see is that won't look the same. The little parts will look a little different and stuff like that. So great. So anything else, Mike, you want to add or questions we should cover?
We have someone asking, can I use this with a Denon AVR as an external power amplifier powering two additional wired speakers? So it does have RCA input. What you have to be careful of is the signal coming from the AVR. You don't want it to be variable. You want it to be fixed, and you would need to control the volume from either the buttons on the front or from the HEOS app or your device for volume. If you have a variable output on that second zone or that output that you're trying to use this as a power amplifier, you're going to get distortion and you're going to have problems with the speaker. So as long as it's line level output, it will be line level input to the amp, and you would control the volume from either the buttons on the front or the app. Hopefully that answers the question as to what you were trying to do with that. This one's for Paul. Concerning DSD, I assume it is not, quote, pure DSD, but converts it to PCM like the Stereo 70S.
We would convert DSD to PCM, that's right.
Okay. Next question is full Josh AI integration.
So because remember, this runs on the same HEOS application, and I think, Paul, we've had really good integration with Josh AI for years, right? Everything is shared on APK. So if you have Josh AI and you grab up the app, you can see everything on the phone. You get the metadata and what titles you're playing, what services you're playing, all that stuff. So it works really, really well with Josh AI.
Perfect. Okay, so the answer to that is yes. And that's all I've got. We had a question about the screw inlet on the M1. Yes, that is there, but not on the Denon Home Amp.
Okay. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Michael, thank you for coming and helping me out and providing feedback. Paul, thank you for being the voice in the sky, answering questions. And of course, we have other people that help as well. Nick Fernandez, thank you for coming and assisting and answering some of these CI focused questions. And Cam, making sure that that you can actually hear me and my camera doesn't blow up. So thank everybody for coming, and I hope you learned, you got something good from this webinar. Bye-bye.